Hey everybody, welcome to coverage of Grand Prix Milwaukee. Maria Bartholdi and Reed Duke here with you for round 14. Owen Turtenwald versus Michael Simon. Both players currently sitting on a record of 11-2. Michael Simon bringing Selesnya tokens and a plushie. Owen Turtenwald is at Drake's. And this is a matchup we haven't seen so far yet today, Reed.
Yeah, Selesnya, not one of the more common guilds to be played in Standard right now, but one that has a lot of good weapons available to it. Put up some good results, though, outside of top 8 at Pro Tour Guilds of Ravnica, and here Michael Simon just a couple of wins away from top 8 with Selesnya tokens.
Owen Turtenwald's got the card he wants on turn 2 in Goblin Electromancer. Meanwhile, Michael Simon on turn 1 playing a flower of half of Flower Flourish. Really nice way to help fix your mana in the Selesnya tokens deck, and passes the turn back with 2 lands.
So no Adanto Vanguard, no Imara Soul of the Accord. Those are the cards that the Selesnya deck really wants to have on turn 2, but that's okay. This is not some kind of mindless rush down the opponent's life total type deck. It's more about gaining board presence in the mid and late game and using March of the Multitude, sometimes in combination with, well, Flourish or Tristani, some kind of pump my creatures type effect to win out of nowhere.
Owen sculpting his hand here with Chart the Course and a couple of Discovery Dispersals. And the thing is with Selesnya tokens, not only are you able to swarm the board, which I think Is It Drake's has a little bit of trouble with sometimes before any sideboard games, but you can also go pretty big, and you've got removal for things like Drake's and Conclave Tribunal.
Yeah, Selesnya has a lot of game in this matchup, though I have to say Owen's start is really nice here. He's on the play with the Goblin Electromancer, which, though Selesnya does have removal, it's not necessarily cheap removal that's adept at answering a turn 2 Goblin Electromancer. And Owen pulling so far ahead, you can tell that he's already cast 4 spells to Michael Simon's effectively 1.
History of Benalia on the table here for Simon. Over to Turtenwald, who has done a great job of being able to find what he needs here in this matchup through just non-stop cantrips. Goblin Electromancer able to get in for damage as well here as Shock taking down the Knight token. Owen passes the turn back. Chapter 2 on History of Benalia produces another Knight. And we're up to 4 lands here. A Johnny in hand, Tribunal in hand for Michael Simon. And we're going to go for a Johnny. We'll plus here to put a counter onto our Knight. And see what Owen Turtenwald has to say about all this. Blink of an Eye will deal with that quite nicely. Kicked as well to draw a card.
Yeah, that's quite powerful. 3 mana to kill your opponent's only creature and draw a card.
Nice. Radical Idea here for a single blue draws another card for Owen.
And Owen has managed to completely dismantle that History of Benalia. Now he's going to dismantle the Ajani too with no blocking creatures. Wow. Electromancer plus a hasted Arclight Phoenix will be enough to take it down.
There's Opt, 1 Arclight in the graveyard, comes on back. Goblin Electromancer attacking in 2, takes down that Ajani. And yeah, you're right, Owen Turtenwald's been able to deal with everything that Michael Simon has presented so far yet in this game. History pops to no avail. And Legion's Landing here for Michael Simon.
This is all treasure.
He only needs 1 right now, Owen. All right, there is the life-leaking vampire creature token for Simon. And I can see a March of the Multitudes in hand, which is kind of the joke Owen is making there. Selesnya tokens, you know, obviously lives up to its namesake. Shock here on the vampire. And we're going to use use it to convoke out a March of the Multitudes.
Yeah, I mean, it's something for Michael Simon, but it's not terribly impressive. Just 2 1/1 creatures, not great at blocking. The good news is they do provide him with fodder to convoke again next turn if they survive that far.
There's a look at March of the Multitudes on screen. A really powerful spell that can come out of nowhere at instant speed with Convoke. Able to assemble quite a huge army. Meanwhile, Owen Turtenwald knocking Michael Simon's life total down to 11 with an attack with the Electromancer and the Drake and Crackling, or excuse me, Phoenix and Crackling Drake coming down after it's all said and done. Both players fighting for their tournament life here at 2 losses.
Yeah, that's right. So I was taking a quick look at the standings before this round. Remember, there's this one and one more to go afterwards. It looks to me like 13-2 is the target record for these players. I would expect everyone with that record to make it,
but nice.
Few or perhaps no people to be able to draw in if they're 12-2. So not quite ready to call this one a win and in, but certainly these players in great shape if they can advance through this one more round with a win.
Crackling Drake again here for Owen. And he's able to swing in for 5 again here. And chart a course for value after attack. Simon down to 8.
Wow, did you see that, Maria? He drew 2 Arclight Phoenixes off of it. And he might be able to just cast them for 8 mana next turn.
It's got to be nerve-wracking continually playing for your life in these tournaments at this point. Owen Turtenwald picking up game number 1 here over Michael Simon down in our feature match area. Look at both of our players as they head to sideboards for game 2.
Yeah, Simon with a slow start, not really able to put up much of a fight there, and Owen's unanswered Goblin Electromancer combined with all of his cantrip spells just ran away with things.
We'll see if Simon's duck can bring him luck and in fact be a lucky duck for him here. Selesnya Tokens versus Izzet Drakes. How do either of these decks kind of change their shape moving into sideboarded games?
Well, I see 2 cards that are very appealing out of Michael Simon's sideboard. The first is Ixalan's Binding. That really matches up quite well against Crackling Drake because, of course, with both spells costing 4 mana, the pattern you'll often encounter is Owen Turtenwald taps out for Crackling Drake, Michael Simon gets it with Ixalan's Binding, and then that really shuts off a lot of the avenues the Izzet Drake's deck has to attack from. So if Michael Simon can orchestrate that, it'll be very, very nice for him. The second card is Crawl Harpooner, which that's a really interesting card. Just at face value, a 3-power 2-drop creature is not that bad. That's fine. It hits hard. It's a body for Convoke, so it's a nice, cheap play for Simon to make. But also, later in the game, it can trade for a Crackling Drake or an Arclight Phoenix if that's what he needs to. He can also leave it untapped as a reach blocker to prevent any kind of haste shenanigans from the Izzet Drake's deck, so that'll be a nice one.
That was a pretty nice showing there from Drake's versus the Tokens deck in this first game. Is Owen looking to change up his strategy at all in game 2?
I think Owen is pretty happy with his main deck configuration. He'll definitely be making some small adjustments and tailoring his answers to match up as well as possible against Michael Simon's threats. One thing that's interesting is, although Selesnya is a creature-based deck, most of the cards are actually spells that create creature tokens. So if Owen would like, he can turn to Negate as a way of protecting himself from Giant March of the Multitudes or Flourishes on the key turn, anything like that. He'll also want to be sure he has plenty of answers to Adanto Vanguard, so he may turn to Entrancing Melody or Murmuring Mystic.
Like we said, both of these players on 2 losses here can't lose if they want to make it into our top 8. And Owen's been, you know, kind of on this record for a little while now. Does it just kind of wear on you as you have to keep fighting for your life and not dying every single round you play?
Well, Owen's no stranger to this, and I can tell you, I mean, this is what we live for, really, is to play Magic under high pressure, and you know, getting to go deep in a Grand Prix, it's just a lot of fun. You know, to feel like you're still alive this deep in the tournament, it's very exciting. And even I think if Owen winds up losing one of the last 2 rounds and falling short, it'll still have been a pretty good experience for him.
Do you think you play better under pressure?
Yeah, I think that's different, you know, person to person, but in general, I would say yes. And there's also there's a range of pressure where it can be
Sure.
at your ideal. If it gets to be too much, sometimes people crack, but you know, a little bit of pressure to keep you focused and make sure you're present and having fun and enjoying yourself. That's sort of the ideal circumstances to be playing your best Magic.
Curious to know how many players elected to bring a deck like Selesnya Tokens to the tournament this weekend here in Milwaukee. As you said, had a good showing at the Pro Tour, actually, despite being able to crack the top 8. But all that life gain can be a little bit of a problem for decks that are looking to go out really fast, like the mono white decks and the Boros decks we saw once again in the top 8 of the Pro Tour. How do you feel about a deck like Selesnya Tokens, Reed?
You know, Maria, it's very intriguing because it's an underappreciated color combination with a lot of really, really good cards. In particular, I love Tristani Discordant. I think that's a really great card. And what's so exciting about Selesnya is the wide variety of ways you can build it. I mean, there's these tokens decks. You can ramp into Planeswalkers. You can play Explorer creatures. You can play the Immortal Sun. So the fact that it's underexplored and has this wealth of options available to it does make me like the color combination. And if I had, you know, a handful of days to work on Standard, Selesnya is certainly a place I would go. All
right, so both players having excellent 2-drops in play right here. Amara Soul of the Accord from Michael Simon, Owen Turtenwald with Goblin Electromancer, and Amara here is going to swing on in, and Electromancer's like, block. Amara's tap there, creating a 1/1 lifelinking soldier. And we're able to clear the Electromancer off the table.
So this is a crucial turn with Michael Simon not able to deploy anything. It looks like his hand is strong, but mostly cards that cost him 5 mana between Tristani Discordant, Venerated Loxodon, and having to pass a very crucial turn 3 without a play is not necessarily what he was hoping for.
Here's that Venerated Loxodon distributing just 1/1/1 counter onto the 1/1 lifelinker. 4/4 body in play now. Another Electromancer on the table for Owen. And here we see the Drake's deck doing what it does best, playing cheap spells, making the hand great. Radical Idea and Opt. There's Niv Mizzet that Owen Turtenwald found off that idea.
Though I will tell you that Owen doesn't have a tremendous amount of time to be doing this because Michael Simon's hand is quite strong. He's likely to deploy Tristani here and then put the pressure on Owen to actually make relevant plays instead of just sculpting his hand. But speaking of relevant plays, that was a pretty nice turn for Owen. 2 removal spells for the Venerated Loxodon and the 2/2 lifelink token, both at the low price of 1 mana.
All right, here we go. Michael Simon. Will it be Tristani? I see an Ixalan's Binding and a Conclave Tribunal in his hand, and another Loxodon, I believe.
One more cool thing that I'll point out, Maria, is we've seen Owen on camera a handful of times over the course of the weekend, and one of his signature cards is Entrancing Melody.
Yeah.
But take a look at that bottom line of text of Tristani
That's true. At the beginning of your end step, each player gains control of all creatures they own, which normally, you know, doesn't matter.
So I wonder how Owen will navigate that situation. I mean, Entrancing Melody seems like a really great card for the matchup, and as we've mentioned, he has a hard time dealing with the Danto Vanguard, but it's quite a liability against Tristani, and I wonder if Owen has experience with this matchup, has a firm sideboard plan, or is going on the fly.
Back over to Michael Simon here. See what his play will be this turn. It looks like a Binding on this Electromancer. Sure. Interesting choice to use the Binding there as opposed to a Tribunal. And an attack with all here from Simon.
I really wonder what Owen's got up his sleeve here. He didn't respond to the Electromancer, and now a crucial turn for Owen where he has no play. But
oh, there you go.
That's a play.
Niv Mizzet. Perun hits the table for Turtenwald, and that is a big dragon that can really mess with your plans.
Looks like Simon is prepared with the answer, though. 2 Conclave Tribunals.
Interesting, though, what he's going to choose to do this turn. Looks like he was thinking about the Loxodon, too.
Well, he can do both. You know, for example, he can tap any number of creatures that he would like and deploy the Loxodon, then use the Loxodon to convoke out the Tribunal. But no, he's just going to attack. Perhaps wary of Star of Extinction.
Oh, sure. Owen Turtenwald down to 10 after that attack. Niv Mizzet, number 2. Ixalan's binding on the wrong thing.
But this actually working out pretty well for Michael Simon, as he does have yet another answer, and this creating a large tempo loss for Owen. Every time he taps out for Niv Mizzet and it gets answered, he's taking 5 more damage.
All right, here's a venerated Loxodon play.
Yeah, so I'm not exactly sure what changed to make Michael decide to play out the Loxodon. Maybe it's the Arch of Araska now that he has a play for next turn to rebuild if somehow his board does get wiped. But Owen in trouble, needing a big play this turn.
Owen Turtenwald down to 6, Michael Simon up to 28 thanks to those lifelinkers on the table. What can Turtenwald come up with this turn? Murmuring Mystic.
A pretty good one.
1/5 body makes 1/1 flying bird creature tokens.
Looks like he has 1 Radical Idea remaining in his graveyard, so he can use that. He has a Shivan Fire in hand. I'm not sure what his second card is. But boy, that's a lot of power and toughness to contend with. And Arch of Araska means that Michael Simon's not going to take his foot off the pedal.
I really like that Arch of Araska in Simon's list as a way to help yourself rebuild, as you put it, after you've dumped your hand.
The mana is quite good in Selesnya. You have the full 8 untapped dual lands in Sun Petal Grove and Temple Garden, plus you have Flower Flourish. So it's difficult to be missing your colors if you're playing all 12 of those, and 1 copy of Arch of Araska is pretty easy to afford.
No hesitation here from Michael Simon. Stacks with all. Murmuring Mystic jumps in front of the elephant.
Uh-oh. Owen is going to lose his Murmuring Mystic here because the creature is a 5/5 due to Tristani Discordant.
That's true.
I wonder if that's just a misstep from Owen or if he has some kind of plan. I would think, you know, if you're gonna jump block, he would use the bird token. So
yeah,
I think maybe Owen just overlooked the extra power from Tristani.
Radical Idea opt here, Arclight Phoenix into the graveyard and chart a course as Owen digs here for some answers to what's been beating him down. He's at 2 life. And that is not going to do it. Michael Simon evening things up here in game number 2 with the tokens list. Well, if Owen Turtenwald did punt, makes me feel a little bit better, you know. Nobody's invincible.
Yeah, it's true that nobody's invincible. Every single player under the sun makes mistakes.
Even you, Reed?
Even me, yeah.
Jeez.
In fact, maybe I just overlooked something in that game. I'm sure I'll talk to Owen and he'll be like, oh, I chump blocked because of this and this and this. And, you know, actually I had a great reason for it.
Sideboarding once again for game number 3 here. Between these two players, even scores all around, tokens versus Drakes. How much do things change for you? How much are you sideboarding in game 3? Obviously it's deck dependent, and I guess between these two, being on the play or the draw, is that going to come into consideration?
Yeah, I guess 2 things have changed between game 2 and 3. The first is, as you mentioned, the play and the draw. So if these players have different game plans based on whether they're likely to be on the front or the back foot, they could switch their sideboarding. Also, you've gotten to see how your opponent sideboarded. So, for example, Michael Simon saw 2 Niv Mizzets out of Owen Turtenwald. Now knowing that the Izzet Drake's player is going a little bit bigger, preparing for a little bit of a longer game. And Owen Turtenwald, he saw mostly the same cards as game 1, but he did see Ixalan's Binding, so I'm sure Owen will have access to things like Blink of an Eye to perhaps free up a crucial Niv Mizzet or Crackling Drake from one of those enchantments.
I like it too, Conclave Tribunal and Ixalan's Binding.
Yeah, I like having the split of those cards. Ixalan's Binding a little bit more powerful if you're willing to spend the full retail price, but Conclave Tribunal is also great for being able to double spell on a crucial turn, say play out a creature and then use that creature to convoke out an answer card.
Michael Simon, by the way, has 2 Grand Prix top 8s, so no stranger to being this close to making it into the final 8 people at the tournament. They were in Chicago back in 2012, in Albuquerque in 2016. See him around at a bunch of Grand Prix, really nice guy. Member of the Is It League, it would appear from his shirt.
Perhaps just for deception, though, as he's really playing Selesnya.
That's true. I mean, now that we have these guild sleeves, too, available to players, that's another level of deception.
Yeah, you can really throw people for a loop.
Nice to see our players having a good time down there in the feature match area. So we shuffle up here for game number 3. We are working our way ever closer towards our top 8. 1 round to go after this, round 15, before we make our cut. And if you have more than 2 losses, don't really have a shot. So this is it for our players. A lot hanging on this one game. But a terrific run for them all weekend nonetheless. Other players in our feature match area this round, we have Matt Sicking Johnson on table B, facing Petr Sochurik, who we saw earlier today a few times, and Adrian Sullivan, who we saw with a pretty fabulous win. He's down there playing Lucas Ducow, who I remember from the mocks.
Yeah, that's right. Lucas Ducow is not you know, particularly famous player, but I have known him for a number of years. He's really good. He's particularly a limited specialist, and as you mentioned, yeah, he's been in the Magic Online Championship before. So fairly accomplished player in his own right.
Absolutely.
And he's actually 12-1, so even one
yeah,
bracket above the players that we're watching. So he's in a really, really nice position.
Yeah, we have 2 players on 12-1 in this round, Lucas Ducow and Steve Shields. And somebody else who just can't lose in this tournament, Isaac Kroot.
Yeah, 13-0.
Undefeated.
Very impressive.
I mean, that's just nutty to me. What a run. Do you know what he's playing?
I want to say he's playing Jeskai.
You are correct. Jeskai Control. I thought that would be a pretty good deck this weekend. Much to my chagrin. All right, our players drawing their opening hands here for game number 3, the deciding game in this match between Michael Simon and Owen Turtenwald. Selesnya tokens versus Is It Drakes. Taking a look here, I see single land in hand for Simon, but he also has what I think is a Flower Flourish.
So the real card that I want to keep an eye on here is Goblin Electromancer from Owen. The removal being a little bit clunky in the Selesnya colors means that if Owen can deploy Goblin Electromancer at turn 2 on the play, it's going to give him a huge advantage, but nope, he doesn't have it.
It's going to be Chart a Course here for Turtenwald. Nicely putting Phoenix into the graveyard, though.
Yeah, that's probably his second best turn 2 play is a cantrip spell that discards a Phoenix.
How well do you know, like, this is my best turn 2 play, best turn 3 play?
Well, it's matchup by matchup, and say against a red deck that's packing Shocks and Shivan Fires, Goblin Electromancer may not be that impressive. But Selesnya in particular, most of the removal spells in white, you know, short of Seal Away, which is not effective against Electromancer, they're going to cost 4 mana.
Owen here able to pitch another Arclight Phoenix and gain a Goblin Electromancer in hand, but committing nothing to the board so far. Michael Simon able to play a Kraul Harpooner, which you mentioned coming in out of the sideboard, but he's just playing it as a 3-2.
Owen, by the way, keenly aware of how important returning the Phoenixes are. He told me last night that he often just won't cast his Opt on turn 1 to ensure that on turn 4, like the one that's about to come up, he'll have the maximum chance of being able to triple spell and get back those Phoenixes. So I'm going to give him the advantage in this game state. Didn't return the Phoenixes, but Crackling Drake continuing to set up. Let's see if Michael Simon can have that line that we mentioned of Ixalan's Binding on the Crackling Drake.
Yep, here it is. Binding takes down the Drake. Kraul Harpooner in for 3. I saw another Arclight Phoenix in Turtenwald's hand as well. So we could be in for a very explosive turn somewhere in the future. There is the Electromancer. Tormenting Voice.
Oh boy.
There it is! Phoenix in the yard! Oh man. Land number 2. Excuse me. 2 mana available. Electromancer number 2. Spells are getting cheaper by the minute.
Please, you competitors, that is time in the
And back over to Michael Simon. And you've got to be really scared if you see 3 of those Phoenixes in the graveyard.
Yeah, although it makes me wonder what's going on with Owen's hand. It's now a couple turns that have passed without him returning those Phoenixes. So does he have too many lands? Is he holding powerful spells like Niv Mizzet? Does he have more Crackling Drakes that are now locked under the Ixalan's binding? We'll see.
Another Flower Flourish here for Michael Simon. Finds a land. Keep in mind that Harpooner has reach.
Yep, that could come in big later on in the game if we wind up in a close race type situation.
Shalai hits the table for Michael Simon, giving him and his other creatures hexproof. And by the way, you can use Shalai's other ability in this deck. And your prediction is true here. Read Owen Turtenwald slams Niv Mizzet.
Michael Simon must have a removal spell for this Niv Mizzet or the game is going to be over very quickly.
And you know, this is kind of the same thing we saw from Owen last game. Play Niv Mizzet. Do you have it? In 2 cases, Michael Simon did. In this case, I don't think he does. See what he's going to do. And he's just going to pass the turn back over to Owen. With this much mana and that many cards in hand, you've got to sniff out a March of the Multitudes.
So the only legal target for Niv Mizzet's ability right now is Shalai.
Chart a course for Owen. Really good with Niv Mizzet on the table.
Not to mention with 3 Arclight Phoenixes threatening to come back.
Oh yeah. No problem getting rid of Shalai there. 4 toughness. Radical idea, and this is just pretty gross. Down goes the Harpooner. There's an opt. Another ping. The advantage bar zooms over to Turtenwald's side of the table.
Yeah, Michael Simon may just be dead this turn. I mean, his life total is plummeting. The 3 Phoenixes coming back. That's already an attack for, well, that's already an attack for 18.
Yeah, this looks like it could be about a GG, but we'll see what Simon has in his hand.
He does have March of the Multitude, so we might see Turtenwald attack with only his flying creatures, or if he has enough instants in his hand, he could just clear out the tokens even after Simon casts March. He's going to play around Settle the Wreckage here. Might as well.
Yep. And there's March of the Multitudes from Simon.
So Owen can trigger the Niv Mizzet here, draw a card, deal 1 more damage to his opponent.
We've marched for 3. There's Shivan Fire.
Okay, so it looks like we may have passed to March of the Multitudes resolving. But Owen going to Shivan Fire 1 of the tokens and ping another one with Niv Mizzet.
Niv Mizzet doesn't care about your multitudes. Down the Soldier's Fall to the ping.
7 damage to Michael Simon. Post-combat here is going to be chart a course to draw 3 more damage.
Wow. Owen just storming off here. Found a Star of Extinction too.
Don't think he'll be casting that one. Unless he wants to win in style with Star of Extinction being the last trigger.
Oh yeah, come on.
The final damage.
All right, well, we're not going to get to see it. There's a handshake, little shake of the head from Michael Simon. Owen Turtenwald takes down that match 2-1. Is it Drakes over Selesnya tokens? Good showing so far in the tournament from Simon as well. A really cool deck. I do like the tokens list quite a lot, and I play with it a little bit on Arena. It's really fun.
Yeah, it seems really fun, and as we mentioned, you know, very customizable, a lot of great weapons at your disposal. So if you're a Selesnya mage, you can sort of adopt that deck, make it your own, play your own way. But I think Izzet Drake's a tough matchup, and Owen able to stick the Niv Mizzet just really closed the door on Michael Simon.
And the tokens match versus like the Selesnya mid-range deck is something we also saw at the Pro Tour, so you can split hairs that way and go a tiny bit bigger, which is what Seth Manfield was doing at the PT.
Right. And
using cards like Thorn Lieutenant and that sort of thing in the deck as well. But as you mentioned, like, we're still not settled on anything final here.
No, there's a lot of customizability and matching up the right threats against the answers your opponents are likely to bring. That's really the key.
All right, let's head down to the feature match area. Owen Turtenwald standing by. Hi, Owen. Maria and Reed here in the booth. Pretty sweet deck you brought with you this weekend. Are you having fun?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You guys saw me on the first day playing with the Mirari Conjecture, and that's my definition of fun.
All right, so tell me a little bit about why you chose to put a one-up like this in your deck.
I copied it from Decklist from the Pro Tour. The man's name was Viren, and he went 10-0, and I figured 10-0 at the Pro Tour, that's good enough for me.
So, Owen, what's different about your take on Blue-Red Drakes compared to what a lot of other people are playing?
Honestly, not much. I pretty much just played one of all the cool cards I saw in different deck lists, and that was that.
Yeah, we've seen him be good. The Mirari Conjecture, the Blink of an Eye was nice in that game one there, Entrancing Melody. By the way, did you leave in Entrancing Melody against that Selesnya deck?
I did not. I actually read part of Trostani Discordant, and the part that stops the mind controls, that's the part that I read. The rest I completely ignored.
I want to know from you, this deck is really sweet and it looks super fun to play. For people at home that are picking it up, what are kind of your sort of top tips for people who want to sling with this deck?
Oh, if I was going to give any recommendations, you must use the Invasion Opts. You got to use the Stronghold Shocks. You got to use the Return to Ravnica, Goblin Electromancers, and definitely play 4 Crackling Drake. That one's great too.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Owen. Good luck to you the rest of the tournament.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, style points for sure with using old school arts. And Hannah's in that old opt art, the ship's navigator, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, she is.
A little bit of flavor for you Vorthos heads out there. Anyway, more Magic is coming your way from this round. Don't go anywhere. Hey everybody, welcome back to the booth. Maria and Reed here as our final few rounds of Grand Prix Milwaukee get underway.